All right, everyone. Well, thank you for joining us today. I'm really pleased to be here to be able to host this panel from Business Link. Um, I'll introduce myself. My name is Barbara McKenzie. I'm the CEO of Business Link. And today we are going to talk about recovery and overcoming adversity. And we have 5 great panelists from our own Business Link team here. So I'm just going to go review some housekeeping items quickly, and then we'll get into it. So if you do have any questions during the discussion, please add them to the chat box, and we'll ensure that the panel does answer them, as I'll be monitoring the chat box for that. We would appreciate if you keep your audio and video off during the panel presentation, just to assist with the sound quality and the video quality as well. Remember to join us at Business Link AB on social media and share all your thoughts with us. I would now like to turn it over to Holly, who is the director of our Indigenous Business Services team, to do our land acknowledgement.
Awesome, thank you. Good afternoon. Thanks, Barbara, for the introduction. At Business Link, we take pride in providing great services to all entrepreneurs, and we are honored to provide specialty services to our immigrant populations and to Indigenous entrepreneurs and Indigenous communities. We're always actively inclusive in our cultural understanding and awareness of the histories of our country. With that, we'll start this event with the 3 land acknowledgements to recognize all of Alberta and all of you who are joining from the different parts of our province. In Southern Alberta, we want to acknowledge that we are gathered on the traditional territory of Treaty 7, the nations of the Blackfoot groups of the Niitsitapi, of Kainai, Piikani, and Siksika, as well as Tsuut'ina and Stoney Nakoda nations of Wesley, Bearspaw, and Chiniki. Treaty 7 is also home to Métis Nation of Alberta Region 3. In Central Alberta, we want to acknowledge that we are located on Treaty 6 territory, a traditional gathering place for diverse Indigenous peoples, including the Cree, Blackfoot, Métis, Nakota Sioux, Iroquois, Dene, Ojibwe, Saulteaux, and Anishinaabe, and Inuit, and many others whose histories, languages, and cultures continue to influence our vibrant community. And within Northern Alberta, we want to acknowledge that we are gathered on Treaty 8 territory, homeland of the many diverse First Nations and Métis people whose ancestors have walked this land since time immemorial. The ancestral territories of the Cree, the Neta, the Neza, the Nesulin, and the Métis. Thank you all very much, and I'll now turn it back over to Barbara.
Great, thank you very much, Holly. All right, well, again, we are really pleased to be here with you today. I'm just going to give you a little bit of an overview of what Business Link does. So we do provide customized solutions for and business advice for entrepreneurs to help them navigate, build, and run and grow their own businesses. We provide one-on-one support and guidance, market research, access to experts, training, networking opportunities, and specialized support for Indigenous and immigrant entrepreneurs as well. We strive to provide support that will drive the growth of great Alberta businesses. Now we are doing all of that virtually, and you can get to all of our advisors through virtual means, email, phone call, and chat, as well as participate in webinars and events like these. Our in-house experts are here to support you and can be your trusted advisors in helping you build your business. And I'd just like to reiterate for those who just joined us, please make sure your audio and video are off and put any questions that you may have into the chat box. So with that, I'm going to have each one of our team members introduce themselves and tell you what their role here is at Business Link. And I'll start with Mark Shields, who is our external strategist.
Yeah, hello, everyone. Very happy to be here today, sharing some thoughts. So as Barbara mentioned, I'm a strategist with the Business Link team. I've been on the team for about 9 months, so it's still a little fresh, but certainly really I'm enjoying the opportunity that I get every day to work on the problems that entrepreneurs are facing, help them brainstorm and solve those problems with information, resources, whatever it might be. So yeah, that's kind of what my role is, outward facing, going and meeting clients, typically out in the field. As everyone's well aware, not doing that right at the moment, but certainly available virtually. Little bit about my background really briefly. I've worked in an economic development project called the Merge Hub in Calgary here. Have done some accounting studies in my background, and yeah, worked at a community radio station as program director for a while. So bring a variety of experience to help out our clients.
Great, thank you, Mark. All right, we'll move on to Shay Bachelet, our Director of Marketing and Communications.
Hello, everyone. So as all of my colleagues have mentioned, thank you for joining us. My name is Shay Bachelet. I'm the Director of Marketing and Communications. And so I sort of lead our events and marketing team, events and communications team. So we host a lot of webinars. We host Ask an Expert sessions. We have a lot of great resources and tools on the website as well for you to access. Social media accounts where we have regular updates on our programming offerings. So we're on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. So a lot of ways to communicate what we're doing. And yeah, I'm excited to answer any questions that you may have in terms of marketing around the current situation.
Great, thank you, Shay. And next, Yoyin Famulisi, who is our Director of Business Strategists.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Barbara, for the introduction. My name again is Yoyin Famulisi, and I am the Director of Small Business Strategists at Business Link, where I get to work with the most amazing team, helping small business clients across the front line and in person. My background is in business strategy development, client services, and I absolutely love working at Business Link. It is so fulfilling helping to build great Albertan businesses, and happy to be here today.
Thanks, Yoyin. Next up, Kari Morton, Director of Business Support Services.
Hi, everybody. My name's Kari. Like Barbara mentioned, I'm the Director of Business Support Services. I've been at Business Link for just about 6 years now, I think shy 1 month of that milestone. So definitely it's been a great position for me. I've had a few different jobs throughout my time here, but constant throughout that has definitely been my passion and working on the market research side of things. So that's kind of what I'll probably concentrate on today, but definitely again, like Mark and Yoyin and Holly have seen, wide variety of inquiries come into us. So I do have a passion for all kinds of questions. I just like to help people figure out the answer they need to whatever their question is. So excited to be here today and hopefully help you all do some of that. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kari. And finally, Holly, the Director of Indigenous Business Services.
Awesome, thanks. Good afternoon, everyone again. I lead our team of Indigenous services who, 3 amazing individuals working all across the province of Alberta, servicing Indigenous entrepreneurs and Indigenous communities with advisory services, one-on-one support. We do a lot of really great workshops. We have some amazing programs that we offer. We offer a self-employment program with Indigenous services, as well as our Indigenous procurement program, helping those small businesses that are procurement ready, that are Indigenous, to get them connected with the federal government and some tender opportunities for them, walking them through that process. We offer so many great workshops in different ways, in person, obviously not right now, but we are strategizing to move that online in as many capacities as possible. So any support that we can offer in regard to starting up your business in any phase or helping you grow, we are always there, and just a phone call and an email away. So great to be here and looking forward to the discussion today.
Great, thanks, Holly. All right, well, we're gonna dive right in. We're looking on this road to recovery now, and we're seeing businesses open. So let's talk a little about what businesses need to do prior to opening to ensure that they're opening with government regulations in mind, and how should they be communicating with their customers? I'm going to throw this one actually over to Mark for now.
Sure. Yeah, I think that the one of the main keys that has been coming to my mind in this time is what you said right at the end there, Barbara, about communication. I think, ideally businesses have been trying to maintain that communication with their customers all throughout, but that's going to be really crucial now making sure that outreach is going of what your plans are going to be, what that date might be that you're anticipating your opening. Also thinking about if you're going to need to involve your customers in any procedures that you might be implementing within your place of business that they're going to need to be a part of, making sure you've got a plan for how you're going to instruct them about that, making that very clear. There certainly is a lot of materials out that seem to be kind of thrown at business owners from lots of different directions online right now. So that's certainly something I think a business link strategist can help you through to kind of find the right materials that you want to be referencing. Certainly things from the Alberta government or where you'd be wanting to direct your attention. Yeah, I think that's one last piece I think that has come up a lot from people who've been reaching out to us that I see on what we call our front lines here, where we meet and kind of first interact with the entrepreneurs, as they call us, is wanting sort of a really well laid out or direct, this is what you need to do in your exact business, which that level of clarity is something that might not be available to you. So just thinking about what can you do, everything within reason, making every effort to make reasonable accommodations to keep people apart in your business essentially. And you should be safe if you're doing your best efforts for those and referencing the guidelines.
Great, thanks, Mark. And I mean, there are guidelines on the government websites. Are you guys at the front line here at BusinessLink able to help people work through what's applicable to their business and what they should be doing? Because I'm sure it's quite confusing for most of them. So maybe a little bit of clarity on that.
Certainly. Yeah, absolutely. We want to be having those discussions. Again, we might not be able to go quite so far as to say, yes, 100% that's what you should be doing or that's what you need to do. But yeah, if it feels like you need someone to talk to just say, I'm not really understanding how this might apply in my situation, we're very much available to discuss that in kind of that brainstorming type of fashion to see, well, what kind of things could you implement that are going to feel like they're fitting within these guidelines. So yeah, very much we can help with those kinds of conversations.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mark. So lots of guidelines, lots of regulations. We know that's what's going on. Most likely there's going to be some added costs for businesses in actually putting into these help measures. What can businesses do to combat this as they reopen? And maybe Yoyin, you can address that for us.
Yeah, happy to. I was going to mention again around communication that it's communicating with your customers, like Mark said. And I think, yes, it's good for you to let your customers know what has changed, but also let your customers know if anything hasn't changed, because there's just some comfort in knowing that, yes, I know there are lots of changes going on in our world right now, but with this particular business, yeah, at least maybe one or two things haven't changed. So just wanted to mention that. So the question around the cost, the added cost of doing business, what I would say is like with any other financial decisions you want to make with your business, you want to ensure that you are spending money on what is absolutely necessary. Yes, there are lots of protocols in place. Make sure that you are not being frivolous with whatever funds you have right now, and you actually sit and be very deliberate about what you're spending money on and what you're not spending money on. So that's what I would say. Take a look at all your budget line items. Take a look at what is absolutely necessary for the next couple of weeks here, and be sure that that is what you're spending money on. So let's say it's your PPE that it's absolutely necessary. Yes, get PPE for maybe the next couple of weeks. You don't need to stock up PPE for a year, for example, because that is going to cost you so much money. So be very conscious and be very thrifty on the things that you're spending money on at this time, because things will cost money and you need to manage the cash that you have at hand as best as possible.
Great, thanks, Yoyin. I think one of the questions we hear and some of the things is, we're talking about PPE and all of the supplies that they now have to access. Do we know where businesses can access these supplies? Do we have any resources for them to be able to find them? Kari, would you have any insight on that?
Yeah, for sure. The government of Alberta actually does have a section on their website where they talk about the guidelines that businesses need to follow to open, that talks about PPE and how they can access those resources. I mean, we've definitely heard businesses are having a bit of trouble getting some of those, so that may perhaps delay your opening. So that is something really to check into as soon as possible. Like Yoyin said, maybe have a few weeks of that on hand if possible, and then as you get opening, you can reorder, and hopefully those supplies will become more available. But if you head to our website, we have a page on COVID-19. We have some resources for recovery, and then that will link you to those Government of Alberta guidelines, and you can find there where you can get some PPE for your business.
That's great, Kari. I think that helps a lot of people. So we've heard a lot of conversations now. We're getting set up, we're getting reopened. Just having a conversation today with people in Saskatchewan and Winnipeg. They're in phase 2 and phase 3 of their reopening. But what happens if we do regress? If we see that second wave, restrictions come back into place? What can a business do right now to prepare for that eventuality without taking their eye off the ball of also being in reopening phase? Holly, do you have any comments for that?
Absolutely. I think first and foremost, this whole situation that we've been in has really put a new spin on how to do business, and the new normal is becoming something that we're hearing all the time. So it's adjusting really to fit the needs of our client bases and our customers, and what exactly their needs are going forward, and how us as small businesses can really provide those services and products in a way that is meaningful and will create that retention of revenue. The one thing in particular is that we have seen the reality now is no one could have anticipated it, no one could have expected it. So really adjusting the business to fit the new normal now. An emergency response plan is something that maybe a lot of businesses didn't have to begin with. So now ensuring and including that emergency response plan and an operational health and safety manual and strategies are put in place, so that and really planning for anything that could happen. And if we're a little bit ahead of the ball, if and when these realities do hit a second wave or it transgresses, then we do have a plan in place to move forward. So just ensuring that those needs are met and that priorities are in place, and really, I guess at this point we can have a lesson learned that we can't be too prepared for anything, and the unimaginable is sometimes becomes really real really quickly.
Great. I think that's great advice. Get a plan, have it in place, and be able to flex and adjust. I think some of the biggest questions on people's mind is, what does my business look like now? Is my customer still the same? Am I going to get that original customer back? Has my demographic changed? How do I assess my target audience now? And Shay, maybe you can speak to maybe how businesses can address that and some marketing efforts they can kind of undertake, what they can do to adjust their marketing strategy.
Yeah, so and I really like the piece where Mark and Yoyin touched on communicating to their audience, right? So communicating, there's a tons of ways that you can communicate to your audience what you're doing, and also you need to be listening, right? And so there's a lot of ways that you can listen to your customers and get feedback from them on because they're going to want different things, right? And so right now, especially if you have a brick and mortar business, people are going to want to know that their health and safety is top of mind, right? So a really good example of how some businesses are communicating this, knowing that the needs or expectations of their customers has changed. There's some salons, hair salons, for example, who have put out videos walking customers through what that process will now look like as they move through that salon, right? So being able to really know what your customer wants and then being able to respond to that. In terms of your target market, if you're a business who sort of took this opportunity, this challenging time to sort of pivot your business, so has your target market changed? right? And we have a great secondary market research service where our team can sort of put together data for you on what your target market will look like. Demographics, psychographics, geographic information. So there's that, and then also talk to people, right? You can send out surveys for feedback. You can literally just ask your customers for feedback. I'm sure that you have a lot of clients or customers that you have long-standing relationships with, and you can reach out to them and ask them what they want and what they need. Also something, and I work a lot in the world of digital marketing, and so social media is very much in my wheelhouse. And so if you have, social media accounts, a website, then you're able to access the analytics on the back end. Look who your material and content is actually resonating with, right? What are the age demographics of people who are actually visiting your website and and engaging with your social media accounts or following them? So that's a good place to kind of see, this is who I thought my target market was, and are the people that are actually engaging with my brand the same as who I thought they would be? I think is kind of a good place to start. But I would say getting feedback from people is really important.
I think that's great advice, and great advice at any time, not just today. Brand image is obviously really important for any business, right? Put a lot of money and time and effort into building out our brand, whether we're a sole proprietor or a big business. How can some of these changes have affected people's brand image, and how does an organization keep their brand image consistent during this time? Shay, I'll throw that back to you.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I'm going to go back to the communication piece, right? And so what are you putting out there that's showing that you care about what people need right now, right? And did you increase your pricing during this time? We know that also right now with the economic condition in Alberta, the amount of money that people have to spend is decreasing very realistically. So what can you do to show that you're really there for your customers? If it's financially viable, are you able to offer a payment plan for some of your services, right? And so there's ways that I think a lot of building your brand is building relationships and showing your customers that you actually care for them. And why are you in business? You're in business to help people solve a certain problem, almost always, right? And so doing little things to show people that you care is really important in building your brand, and having consistency in your brand across all of your channels and all of your communications, right? This is something that we work really hard at Business Link. Is I want, when you see something that we've put out there, for you instantly to go, that's Business Link, right? And so that consistency piece is really important. And then, like I said, brands are built on relationships, right? And so as personal as you can get with people, do it. And if you can sort of make adjustments to the way you offer services to meet the needs of your clients now, do that wherever it's, financially viable for you.
Great, thanks so much, Shay. So we got a question in the chat, and I'll put this out there to Mark and Yoyin, who may know. If it's a home-based business where you're having people come into, or you're going to people's homes to do, say, dog grooming or Pilates or exercise classes or whatever, are you responsible for providing the PPE? And if so, how do you do that? Do you charge them for that PPE? Comments on that?
That's an interesting question. And I'll tie it back to what Shay just said about your brand, right? And about showing your customers that you do care about them. So what I would recommend is, if you can afford it, then provide it. Because what that is showing your client is that you care about their safety. And at this point in time, I honestly wouldn't recommend you necessarily charging the customer, or obviously charging them for the PPE, because everybody is very price sensitive right now. So I would say, if you can, provide it, because and maybe put it as part of your marketing or something. I don't know if Shay would agree with me on here, but provide it, because it just shows your client that you care about them and you care about their safety, and you're doing everything within the power of your brand to keep them safe while still meeting the need that your business meets for them. That would be my recommendation.
I think maybe the only thing I would add there, because I think you described it really well, Yoyin, but it sort of seems like one of those examples of, yeah, there might not be this written edict out there that says you have to have that PPE, you can't go otherwise, or you shouldn't be charging for it. So it is where that decision making as a business owner and entrepreneur has to come in and kind of take over and cover that gap. And then I think, yeah, you provided great advice there on what those decisions should likely be. So yeah, that's my whole thought there.
Great, thanks. So one of the things we've heard a lot about, obviously, is businesses pivoting, offering services differently, doing things virtually. There's curbside pickups. There's all of these new things. And Yoyin, you talked about people being price sensitive. We've seen a lot of people offering virtual fitness classes and that. But how do you know when to get back into the actual business of business, which is sales, and actually generating those sales again? And maybe you are a fitness center and you still are doing it virtually just to stay in touch with your customers. But when should people go back to actually charging for their services, even if they're not in their physical location? How do you know when to do that? Who'd like to speak to?
I'll try because that's a very, very tricky one. And I would say that the actual business is, and just because you're providing services virtually doesn't necessarily mean you should not charge for them. And we find that customers will pay for value. Right now, I still grocery shop. Superstore doesn't give me for free. Customers will pay for the value that you give to them. Yes, now maybe people are price sensitive, but ultimately you are running a business. And what Shay said about constantly listening to your customers is also critical here, because if you're in constant communication with your customers, you're in constant communication with other business owners, looking at what they do and how they do it. There's no, I don't know if there's any point where you say, yes, I should do this, but with the constant listening and also realizing that if you don't charge, then you don't have a business technically. And you can only be free for so long. So continue to find ways to make money in your business. I'm never a big fan of free per se, like free things all the time. You're not running a business. So be sensitive to your customers, but also realize that you are running a business and find ways to still get your customers to exchange money for the value that you are giving them. Even if it's not at the same price as before, you have to keep money coming into your business to continue to call it a business.
And I can just add to that too. I agree, Yoyin, and I think that there are a lot of examples of very successful businesses that do all of their services virtually, and people pay for them, right? There are psychologists right now who are doing sessions virtually and charging upwards of $150, and people pay for them, right? There's people who do online fitness courses, and you can do a payment plan, right? Or you can do a monthly subscription plan. There's really creative ways that you can do things online and virtually where you still get paid for it. I think sometimes people get stuck in this cycle of giving everything for free and you're exhausted, right? And then people know that they can get stuff from you for free if that's all that you do. And so there's a piece of it where, I know a local nutritionist who has a monthly subscription plan where they put meals together and they send them out monthly, and people pay $24 a month, right? So there's really creative ways, and you can just do a Google search of your industry to find out what other people are doing to get some ideas. But there are ways that you can charge for what you're doing online as well. And maybe you can sort of make it automated, right? You have an ebook or you have some sort of online offering that sort of is passive and runs itself, and you can get back to running sort of the in-person, if you will, portion of your business.
I would just add a quick comment here as well in terms of kind of how things might go as we look at reopening. And some businesses will maybe be relaunching their physical presence as well. Just to keep in mind that these options that we've been seeing, like curbside pickup, online delivery, virtual, courses or classes online, will probably need to continue, right? Some customers may not be comfortable coming in person yet. They may still like that convenient option. So keep that in mind, right? You probably won't be getting back to what we call business as usual or, the normal. It will be a new normal, right? So you'll probably have to offer some sort of online or virtual offering in addition to a physical offering, if that's the kind of business that you have.
That's great. Considering we're talking a little bit about recovery and overcoming adversity, what are some of the new business opportunities that we're seeing emerge? If you were an entrepreneur and you wanted to pivot your business or add a line of business or even take on a new business, we're having these conversations. What are you guys seeing for the trends? What's emerging out there that, entrepreneurs could really take advantage of during this time? Maybe I'll go in order and I'll start with you, Mark.
No, the first thing that comes to my mind is an example that actually one of our strategist colleagues, David Beta, had brought up last week, I believe, of the business that was providing, I think, RVs or some kind of recreational accommodations that their previous business model was kind of thrown out with all of the goings on, but they were able to pivot and start providing their RV accommodations at people's homes to allow households that needed to create more social distancing among their members to spread out. So nurses, for example, that might not want to be interacting with their own family but don't want to leave could rent one of these RVs and they park them in their driveway. So I just thought that was a good example of someone to thinking about how can you make what you have, the assets that you have in your business, and apply them in a different way. So yeah, as to what kind of trends we're seeing, I might have to kind of mull that one a little bit longer. Certainly if you're in any kind of textiles, it seems like you might want to try to grab into a larger market, growing market of face mask production and such. Hand sanitizers and these things, we've seen lots of stories around that. But yeah, those would be some of my initial thoughts there. Let's see what the rest of the team is thinking.
How about you, Holly?
Yeah, I'll say, echoing what Mark has said, specifically with the PPE, masks, hand sanitizer, have seen a lot of businesses pivot in that direction that had the necessary equipment and resources to produce those things. But seeing a huge shift online has been a major marker there, and really using this opportunity to grow from a small brick and mortar or from a small service that for the entrepreneurs that we work with in Indigenous services, specifically setting up at a lot of trade shows and art shows and things like that as vendors, now really having no choice but to pivot and focus online. So I've seen some really amazing things when it came to brick and mortar shops as well, doing live Facebook Live Q&As, or just showcasing, doing a virtual shopping tour, having customers call in and doing a FaceTime with the owner. With the owner of the sorry, something just popped up there, owner of the store, which was really, really great. And she had seen a lot of revenue come back from that. Delivery services as well. So a lot of transportation services that were once utilized for maybe a small bus service or something along those lines, now doing shopping trips, grocery shopping trips for families that cannot go out or don't have the means to go out and do that. So seeing some really amazing, innovative ways in which to change the direction and really get that marketing and branding awareness very high and getting that traffic back. But subscription services have been something that's been really on the rise as well, and tailoring the product and service so that it does meet the needs. And we have seen the support all the time, but really in this time, it's been very pivotal that small businesses and local businesses and Alberta grown businesses have been really supported, and a lot of a lot of those spending money want to spend their money there. So we've seen a lot of really great support there.
That's great. Kari, what about you?
Yeah, I think Holly stole all my ideas there. I was going to also mention the delivery services. I think that's one thing that we've seen a lot of businesses utilize, and maybe if they can't offer it themselves, they would put that out to, you know, another business to do that service for them. So that's great. The IT services, of course, right? Everyone's trying to get online and maybe use these new tools and products that they've never used before. So IT services have been, you know, really probably picking up recently. Yeah, and just finding new ways to do things. I think a lot of creative things that businesses have been doing. It's been really good to see.
That's fantastic. Yoyin, any other additional comments?
Yeah, I would say so. My team also manages the Immigrant Entrepreneur Program, and we ran a survey a couple of weeks ago. And when we asked a lot of immigrant entrepreneurs the opportunities that they saw as a result of COVID-19, it's interesting to know that a number of them actually said access to new markets, right? And I think being forced to think differently about how we do business has actually, for some businesses, opened access to customers that they never thought they would serve. We have a good example in a client who has a music shop, and prior to COVID-19, all her classes were in person, and because, you know, of the lockdown, she had to consider going virtual. And the way this has evolved is that she's actually serving clients outside of her local community. She's thinking of shrinking the size of her physical space. And, you know, she's actually thriving. So I think access to new markets is one, and then also partnerships. We're seeing businesses not competing, but co-opting. I don't know if that's the right English word, right? But we're finding, especially in the food and beverage industries, competitors are coming together to serve clients. So I think those are also opportunities, access to new markets that you never thought before, and then potential to partner with other businesses within and outside of your industry.
I think those are some great examples, new opportunities. Shay, thoughts?
Well, I just have such a brilliant team. They brought everything up. So I was actually also thinking of the collaboration piece, Yoyin, as being a really powerful tool for your business to reach a broader audience. So really good example of that is something local to this area. I'm in Edmonton, but goodgoodsco.ca is sort of this, all of these small businesses have come together to sell their products on one platform. And so it's sort of like a little market that you can access with your products, and then it all gets shipped together in one. And anyone who's done any sort of online store knows that there are some logistical challenges when it comes to, you know, packaging and delivering, and that it takes time. It's not as easy as just setting up a store and then boom, you're done and you're a millionaire. So having sort of those really strategic partnerships, I think, are important. And then also your online presence. I think a lot of businesses have taken this time to sort of amp up their online presence. And in this day and age, it's critical, right? If I'm looking for a business, I go online and I search, and hopefully you have a Google My Business listing, and make sure that the information that you have out there online is up to date, right? If your hours have changed, you can update that on the Google My Business listing, on your website, on your social. And I've even noticed it as a consumer myself, if I go to someone's page now and they have nothing about the current situation or how they've adapted or changed or what they're doing, I'm kind of a bit, it's a bit concerning, I guess, from a consumer standpoint. So communicate effectively. Partnerships and collaborations, I think, are a brilliant way. Even a salon here in Edmonton started selling masks from a company that used to supply them scrunchies, and through that have driven a lot of traffic to their website and had a ton of online sales. So yeah, I think that's all I really have to add.
That's great, Shay. So we've got a question. So we have somebody online who's selling an organic food product, and they don't sell it as one-off. They actually send it in bulk, and are looking for suggestions on how they can find clients to buy at least, and he's like, 1 ton of these organic food products. And where could he find these clients, these large clients that are going to buy in bulk during this time, because it's kind of complicated his normal supply chain.
I guess I would wonder there whether or not the, like, has the client changed, right? Would you still be trying to target the same sort of people as you were before? It's just a different way of reaching them. Maybe rather than like going in person to visit them, you know, you have to reach out to them online. So I don't necessarily know if the companies that you're trying to sell this to would be totally different. It's just a different way of reaching out to them. That's kind of my initial thought there.
So what would some ideas be about reaching out to them, right? Because it's not knocking on doors or being able to go visit the location anymore, right? It's kind of changed a little. How do you sell in the new normal, right? I mean, how do you make that approach? How are you going to connect with people when you can't network? You can't be out there. You can't knock on those doors. I'll throw that out there for the team. So anybody who'd like to answer?
Yeah, I can start, and then hopefully other folks will have some ideas as well. Again, I mean, you know, everyone's kind of in the same boat, right? There's no trade shows we can go to. There's no industry events we can go to. And, you know, possibly maybe that was a way you were going to make these connections at food shows or different things like that. So check out and see, maybe they're doing something online. You know, a lot of bigger events have tried to run some sort of program online. Maybe they have a member directory as well. So if you were going to go to like an industry association event, perhaps you can just check out their membership directory and reach out to those people directly. You know, again, everyone's in the same boat, right? People aren't expecting to make in-person connections right now. So hopefully people are more open to like messaging them on LinkedIn, right? Reaching out through the contact page on their website and that kind of thing. I mean, you really do have to still think about your sales pitch and the value and who your right target customer would be. But as you reach out to those folks through new ways online or online events, you know, that are related to that industry, hopefully you would still get some of those customers kind of interested in what you're doing.
Yeah, and I think that something that I feel like I've learned through part of my time working at BusinessLink here is how much patience plays a role in sales, especially when you're doing something like cold calling. So I guess maybe two pieces there. Just first, as best you can, getting over any kind of fear of reaching out to some of these larger companies that might be looking to make larger purchases like that. But then when you're ready to do that, just being ready and prepared to call them again and again until you kind of get the ear of the person you need to be talking to. I think that it's easy to kind of underestimate that time that's going to be involved in achieving sales that way. And maybe just underestimating ourselves in our kind of ability to do it, or the motivation to do it. So those would be two things I think I'd advise in that realm there on the sales particularly.
Great, thanks Mark. Shay.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is that once you're reaching out, I would say always reach out with the intention to kind of connect with them in the most personal way possible, right? So instead of sort of just sending your proposal via email, I think it's best to say, hi, this is who I am and what I offer, and I would love to set up a time to connect with you. I think everyone at this point is pretty comfortable connecting virtually if that's what they would prefer, but always sort of making that pitch in the most personal way possible at that time, I think is really important.
That's great. So I guess it's another marketing question, but you know, you're reopening, you're getting out there, everybody's reopening. It's, you know, there's different aspects of what they're doing. We're hearing a lot of conversation. How do you market? How do you cut through the clutter? How do you get back to your customers and let people know what you're doing? Shay.
Oh, Barbara, I just missed the last piece of the question there.
Sorry. So how do you market? How do you let people know what you're doing, right? There's a lot of clutter now in the market with everybody kind of coming back to the table. How do you cut through that?
Yeah, so my team might laugh at this because I say this all the time, but I think that email marketing is so powerful, because if you're just doing it via social media, there's a lot of numbers thrown out there, but only about 2 to 6% of people who follow you, because of the algorithms and the focus on people versus businesses on those platforms, will see your content. So email marketing is really effective, and any communication you have, make sure your message is consistent and clear, right? So are you communicating when are you opening? What are your hours like? You know, you can do paid ads, you can do a live video. Video content is very powerful on social platforms. I think that there's a lot of I think getting the message out there consistently. So if anyone goes, if you have regular customers or people who already know about you, who want to know when you're opening up, they have the most up-to-date information when they search on your channels. I think is absolutely critical. And it's something I'm noticing, that there's a lot of businesses who are doing it really well right now, and some who are not. And I think that the ones who are doing it really well are gonna see the customers coming back through the doors, right? If people don't know that you're open and you expect them to just show up and sort of see if you're open, like, they're not gonna do that, right? People are not, people's time is valuable. And I used to work for a company where we would say, value your customer's time at $100 an hour. Right? So make it as easy for them to find out the information they need to know about you, and push it out there. Paid ads on social media are an extremely cost-efficient way to get your message out there, and you can target very, very specific groups of people that, if you've really fleshed out who your target market is, those platforms make it very easy to specifically target even an area of 5 miles, right, around a certain point. So that's a really powerful way. But I would say, you know, email marketing, Google My Business listing, have a website. It can be very simple. You can get someone to build you a website for less than $1,500 if you don't have one. But having a presence online, making that message, and if you have a physical brick and mortar location, are you putting up signage, right? So communication is really important. I mean, I guess that's all marketing is communication.
So Shay, there's a question here in the chat just around, you know, you're talking about social media and how important that is, but how do people know what to do on social media? Are there any recommendations you have on courses or training or coaching for people who need support and clarity on how to use social media?
Sorry, kind of how
any courses, training, or coaching for people who, you know, want to learn how to use social media, who maybe haven't been that familiar with it in the past, or want to just get their experience and you know, do more.
Yeah, so we have some great resources on our blog. There's also a really great Alberta-based company called Social School. So they offer these kind of on-demand courses that you can do online. Plus, I mean, we live in the age of information, right? There is information out there all over the place, and the internet can be a little bit messy. You can find a lot of information that won't actually be useful and waste your time on it. So I would recommend maybe doing kind of a short course through an organization like Social School, so that you can, the owner of Social, Kelly, I believe that's her name. Sorry, I was just looking in the chat box, but yeah, I've actually I attended their conference this year, and it was extremely valuable. The information is presented in a way that's really easy to understand, and they only give you what you really need to know. But I would say, don't try to stretch yourself too thin, right? You'll see some sources say also, like, you should be posting on Instagram 5 times a week. Like, that will exhaust you, and you might not actually have much of an ROI on that, right? It's important to always also be looking at where's the ROI even on your marketing efforts and your marketing campaigns. So are you actually getting sales from those Instagram posts you're putting out there, or are they just beautiful inspirational quotes on a landscape background? Because I don't know if that's actually going to be getting you what you need. So Social School talks a lot about the pillars of content that you put out there: education, inspiration, entertainment. So kind of making sure that you're communicating what you're actually doing, positioning yourself as an expert, and you can throw in some of that fun stuff here and there. But I would say Social School is a really good resource for kind of learning the foundations of it, and choose 1 or 2 platforms that you really want to focus on, and put your efforts there, because you don't want to stretch yourself too thin.
Great, thanks, Shay. So I'm going to throw this out to all of you, and maybe we can talk a little bit about some of the best resources, the best places that you guys have seen small business owners can find support right now, where that is across the board. Or can you guys hear me?
Sorry, it's a little bit blurry there.
Sorry, I think I just lost my internet connection.
Sorry, it's a little bit.
I think I'm having an internet connection issue. My apologies, people.
I think you're good now, Barbara.
Okay, thank you. I apologize to everybody. I seem to be having a bit of an internet connection issue. Recommendations around resources, where small business owners can find really good support and information that'll be easy for them to understand and digest and work with. Maybe we'll start with you, Shay, and then we'll ask everybody else to give a couple of examples.
The obvious answer is Business Link. I think, so I'll just share that before I worked for Business Link, I actually was doing sort of independent contractor work. And there's a question I'll answer after this, but I was doing independent contractor work and I actually accessed some of the Business Link resources and found them so valuable. And so the Ask an Expert program, you can connect with a lawyer and accountant, some other experts one-on-one for 30 minutes. Right now, it's at no cost. We usually charge $29 per session. And our strategist team, sorry, Yoyin, I'm gonna preach for you for a moment, but our strategist team will meet with you one-on-one to give you advice that is specific to what you need. And I think that's a really special service that we offer that a lot of other organizations don't, is that one-on-one service and connection with someone that can listen to you and give you the resources and advice you need that are very specific to your business. Would kind of be, I'm gonna say Business Link, but
I'll jump in here. I think that, again, echoing Business Link, I think there is an abundance of information right now that is so great, and there are so many resources. And I often get asked from entrepreneurs, when should I come to Business Link versus going to any of the other resources that are available? And I always say, go and get as much information and as much knowledge from everywhere that you possibly can, because the reality of it is all of our service providers that are within this ecosystem and our partners, we're all not in competition with each other. We are there to complement each other and support each other. And there are some fabulous, really, really wonderful organizations out there that are providing really great services. So for women, for example, Alberta Women Entrepreneurs are offering some wonderful webinars. ATB is still offering their small business strategist virtually. You can meet with them. Of course, within our, if you're looking from an Indigenous standpoint, our partners at Alberta Indian Investment Corporation have their small business officers, Community Futures Treaty 7, and so there's a lot of different areas that are still offering those really great supports. So just going out and reaching out to as many as possible, and then gathering that information back and picking out the pieces that are most significant and most impactful to you and your business. And you'll be surprised at how much you can really learn going out and talking to everybody as much as possible.
Great. Kari.
Yeah, I would echo everything that Shay and Holly have mentioned already. I know Shay put in the chat the BDC has some great online, downloadable templates and resources. So that was one organization I would have mentioned as well, in addition to Business Link, Alberta Women Entrepreneurs, and that kind of thing. And the one new thing I guess I would add is to look at your local resources as well, like your local Chamber of Commerce. Leduc and Wetaskiwin region, for example, has been doing like weekly, Q&As on a lot of different things. So it might be on a topic, or they might even just have like general entrepreneur support chats locally. So connect in with, your local Chamber of Commerce and see what they're offering right now.
Yeah, good point, Kari. I was going to mention that as well, and how some of the smaller rural communities as well have this business support networking events like once every week where businesses in the community come together to talk and brainstorm. And I find sometimes that the best ideas honestly come from other business owners who are going through the same thing. So check within your community if anything like that is happening. The only other partner that, only other organization that comes to my mind is an organization like Good Lawyer. It's like a Craigslist for lawyers, and they are also offering free, 15-minute legal services for clients. So if you do have any legal type questions, yeah, you could get some legal advice, because our accent expert is almost always fully booked. So yeah, Good Lawyer is an alternative if you're looking for legal advice. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I could quickly share just a couple that I know I kind of encounter a lot in my days, and maybe I think the local is always like the first stop for sure. But I find myself quite frequently getting or finding thought-provoking things at the Harvard Business Review, is especially about sort of trying to put into more of a framework how the economy might look going forward. I think they've published a lot of really good articles about that. CPA Canada as well does a lot of webinars, just to mention another resource that aren't like technical accounting issues necessarily. There's a lot of just business advice from them, and they've been a lot of free ones as well. So yeah, those are two that came to my mind to check out.
Mark, do you want to say what the first resource was again? I think you said Harvard Business Review.
Yeah, just like the magazine, the Harvard Business Review, just to read articles that their writers are publishing. I think they've got a lot of just a lot of thought-provoking stuff that they've been releasing that I've come across.
Great.
Their podcast is the Harvard Business Review podcast is also a really great resource if you're more of a listener than a reader like I am. So
they also do a couple of great daily updates, one for leadership and one for information as well, that you can have sent right into your inbox, and they're just short little snippets of things. So another great resource that's more global in nature rather than local, but really good as well. Shay, we had a question. You had something about automated ebooks when you were chatting, and C just wanted a little clarification on that.
Yeah, so in terms of sort of those passive income sources that you can have throughout your business online, I think that ebooks are one of them, right? So if you have sort of a longer ebook that is, I mean, there's a lot of free ones too, right? So you'll see a lot of people create maybe 3 or 4 page ebooks to get people into their funnel or to get them on their emailing list. And that's also a great idea, because again, 90% of emails that are sent, so go right into people's inboxes. And so it's a way to it's a very easy way to get right in front of them. So you can use it for that, but there's also those sort of subscription services that you can set up. So like I said, there was someone I know who does the meal plans weekly, and people pay monthly for them. So it's a really, and that income is consistent and steady. We know people stay on subscription services for about 3 months, but if you're constantly marketing it and getting people into that program, then you kind of have a consistent income that's relatively passive with that one, because you're creating one meal plan that gets sent out to a lot of people. So ebooks, online courses, there's a lot of really great, easy to use platforms where you can create an online course, on something even like Udemy, where you create it, you put it out there, you might charge $19 or $39 or whatever you end up charging for it, but you do it once and then that income continually comes in. So yeah, ebooks, online courses, subscription services online is kind of what I was talking about in terms of that. If you're more of a service provider, you can even do online group coaching, right? Where you're doing, instead of that one-on-one, which can be a little bit harder to get people to sign up for, and you need to charge a lot more money. But yeah, all of those kind of digital things.
That's great. Thanks, Shay. So I'm going to start to wrap up here, and I'm going to see if anybody's got any more questions in the chat. So if you guys have a question, please enter it in the chat. But I am going to just go around and ask each of you, what is one piece of advice, maybe something we haven't talked about, or something that you want to reiterate, or something you've been hearing, one piece of advice you would give small business owners as they face the coming changes, and as this whole situation kind of unfolds. And especially here in Alberta, where we've got kind of a triple whammy going on, right? We've seen COVID, we have oil prices going down, we're, you know, still in a recessionary track that we've been in for an exceedingly long time. That feels like we're getting into that 6-year mark. And then adding on to that some natural disasters like the Fort McMurray flood. What's one piece of advice you want to give small business owners as they kind of work through these things, as they face all of these challenges and these developments? So maybe we'll get Holly to start.
Sure. I would say number one, really evaluating who your target market is. I can reiterate that a million times, because that is where you really have to understand who they are, getting into their head, what they're doing. And like Shay had mentioned, when it comes to marketing yourself, and we can't be everywhere all at once. And are those really ways in which we're marketing really returning on that investment in that? So putting yourself in the shoes of your target market, and then always going back and reevaluating your target market. I would even do it on a quarterly basis, and especially during this time, to really keep it a close eye on that, because I think it can change very rapidly right now. And then another thing I would say is just look at yourself as a consumer, and knowing what is most important to you right now, and that will reverberate out into who your potential target market is. So some things that came to mind when we were having this discussion today was a really big thing for me is just ensuring as a mother that I'm spending a lot of time with my daughter and her education, and then also it was her birthday, so we had a lot of COVID birthdays this year, and one of the really cool things that one entrepreneur is doing is bringing live unicorns to your front lawn. And of course you can't go near them or touch them, but how cool is it to have a unicorn in your front lawn? And that's something, that they never would have imagined that they would do. Obviously not a real unicorn, a horse with a unicorn hat, but at the same time, that's finding, a lot of those areas that are really important to people. Your backyards, landscapers are seeing a huge boom. How can you pivot your business so that it is relevant and you are changing maybe your target market or your products and services that you're delivering? So just keeping a close eye on the target market at all times.
Fantastic, great advice. Love the idea of a horse with a unicorn hat. Kari.
Yeah, so I might have more than one piece. We'll see. I don't know. I was trying to narrow it down, but I think the thing we've seen recently that has just become more prevalent for small businesses to take into consideration is, I'll use the words diversification and collaboration. I'll explain those a little bit, because I know diversification can seem kind of, what is that actually? So just not being too reliant on any one kind of customer, right? Any one revenue stream, right? So maybe you have a few different products and services, not being too reliant on any one supplier, right? We've seen all of these things have been disrupted for a lot of people. So if you have a little bit of diversity in that sense in your business, that will probably help you even going forward. And if things go back, we have to close down a little bit again, having an online offering again right now, ready to go will help you. And then collaboration, we've mentioned it a couple times already, right? Not seeing other businesses necessarily as competitors all the time, but as people that in this like small business, local community can really just help and lift each other up. So those would be my two things to take away. Look for opportunities for collaboration and diversification.
That's good advice in any situation, but now particularly, diversify, strengthen numbers, partner, find those opportunities. Great advice, Kari. Yoyin.
I would say take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. Coming out of this, a lot of small business owners will feel like they need to recoup really quickly, and there's that temptation to overwork and put so much stress on yourself. And mental health is everything. Your health, your well-being in general is everything. And realize that you're not limitless in your capacity. And while you'd like to save money and do things in more prudent manners, also know where your limits are and the things that you can or cannot do. I think that will be really key going into this. So take care of yourself, take the breaks that you need. Like we've all realized in the last 2 months, the things that we thought we couldn't do without, we can actually do without. So just, doing that reevaluation of yourself, and then also do a health check for your business at every point in time. Like constantly check, have some markers and things that you're reviewing on a regular basis that tell you how your business is doing. They could be financial, it could be your legal structure, it could be your marketing. Holly spoke about your clients. Do those things regularly to say, am I in the red? Am I in green? Am I in yellow? Just constantly keep an eye on certain markers for your business. So you know how you're doing and you know whether your efforts are paying off or they're not. So those would be my 2 main advice. Check on yourself and check on your business.
And I think that's great advice. I think, as entrepreneurs and, for those people that maybe aren't familiar with all of us as Business Link staff, so many of us run our own businesses. We have side hustles. We've been entrepreneurs in the past. We understand, we feel the pain, and we often don't take a lot of time for our mental health and our physical health. So take care of yourself, and that'll help you take care of your business and take care of your staff and the people around you. Great reminder. Who have I missed? Shay.
Wonderful, thank you. So I'm just going to answer Tanya's question here. Kajabi, Teachable is great. Udemy, like I mentioned, an Alberta-based business. Bootkick, Bootkick. So piece of advice, I would say reach out for help. You don't need to do it alone. And if you're trying to wear every hat and do everything in your business on your own, it's going to be really hard. You're going to burn out and you're going to kind of lose touch with the joy and the reason that you started your business in the first place. Also having a mentor or someone who you can go to for advice and kind of be vulnerable with, I think is really, really important. Someone that can be real with you as well. So that would be my advice.
Awesome. Thanks, Shay. And Mark, wrap us up here.
Yeah, it certainly this makes me feel so grateful to be working with this team to bring up all these great ideas that I think are also crucial. I guess the piece that I would add came up in another webinar that I caught earlier this week, talking to a venture capitalist who was describing recency bias and how that can affect our decision making as entrepreneurs. Like, my advice is observe whether that could be taking place for you and how might you combat that. So the idea being that if you're, right now everyone's sort of thinking about this pandemic mode and how do I open my business in these conditions, but thinking, like I think we were kind of talking a bit earlier about how, it's really reasonable to think it's going to go kind of back to what was normal in the recent past here, where that may not be true. So can you kind of think in a bigger picture, a longer time frame? I think in that effort, really break down the assets that you have in your business, both physical, real assets and in yourself as the entrepreneur, the skills and the knowledge that you possess, and really see it in an elemental way and think, how might I be able to kind of reconstruct this to fit, like you were saying, their new target market, perhaps, Holly, or other kind of open up to some of those new markets or new opportunities that are going to become available, and just kind of get to that basics of being an entrepreneur and then the decision making that surrounds it. Some of those things in mind. That'd be my piece of advice to throw in here.
I think that's good advice. Deal with the short term, but also look at the long term. Know that this will pass, and you need to plan for that as well as we move forward. And it's hard to think about there being a future without this when we're right in that moment. So great advice, Mark. Fantastic. All right. Well,
sorry, Barbara, we can't.
I got it. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking your time out and spending it with us. And we know that everybody is on Zoom these days, or Google Hangouts, or a plethora of other virtual platforms. So it's great to see all of your virtual faces and to be here with you. Just want to remind you, you're going to get an email from Business Link with a link to a short online survey. If you can fill it out, we always appreciate that. That way we can support and help and improve at all times. And those surveys are important to us and to learn more about what you guys are experiencing. So please fill out the survey. Obviously, we've got a lot of virtual events right now. Check out our events page on our website. Also, we've just launched our new Crisis Recovery for Business page on our website. A lot of great resources there. Our team has put together some really fantastic information. Finally, get our newsletter, go to the website, sign up for that as well. While you're on the website, if you've got a question, hit that chat button, connect with our team, connect with us through social. We are always here for you and ready to support you. So thanks a lot, everybody. Hope you have a really great afternoon, a great day, even though it's raining. But again, thanks again for joining us, and thank you for supporting Business Link.